Long before paper records, spreadsheets, or digital databases, one of the largest empires in the ancient world managed its population, economy, and logistics with astonishing precision, without writing a single word. Roads stretched for thousands of kilometers. Storehouses were filled and emptied with careful calculation. Labor was assigned and tracked, and entire regions were governed through structured information systems. Yet when outsiders arrived, they found no books, no inscriptions, and no written archives explaining how any of this was done. This was the world of the Inca Empire. What made the Inca exceptional was not simply their scale or engineering, but the way they handled information. Instead of writing, they relied on a system made of chords, knots, colors, and structure, a system that functioned as memory, record, and communication all at once. These objects, known as quipus, represent one of the most unconventional information technologies ever created. At its height during the 15th and early 16th centuries, the Inca Empire governed an estimated 10 to 12 million people across a territory stretching more than 4,000 kilometers along the Andes. This land included deserts, rainforests, high-altitude plains, and steep mountain passes. Managing such diversity required far more than simple rule by force. The state needed reliable information to function. Officials conducted regular population counts to determine labor availability. Agricultural output had to be tracked across regions with different growing seasons. Massive state storehouses, known as kulkas, held food, textiles, weapons, and tools that had to be inventoried, rotated, and redistributed. The Mita labor system required precise calculations of who owed labor, for how long, and in which location. Military campaigns depended on accurate logistical planning, ensuring that armies moving through hostile terrain could be supplied without delay. None of this could operate on vague estimates or informal memory. The Inca state functioned because information moved efficiently, accurately, and consistently across the empire. Unlike many other complex civilizations, the Inca did not develop a written script. This absence should not be misunderstood as a limitation. In Andean society, knowledge was preserved and transmitted through oral tradition, performance, and apprenticeship. Memory was institutionalized, not personal. Writing also requires materials, infrastructure, and social practices that were not essential to the Inca worldview. Instead of texts, the Inca relied on trained specialists, ritual repetition, and physical recording systems that could be carried, modified, and verified. Quipus were well suited to this environment. They were lightweight, durable, and adaptable to mountainous terrain. Information could be transported quickly by relay runners, updated when conditions changed, and interpreted by officials trained within the state system. Rather than replacing memory, quipus worked alongside it, forming a hybrid system of physical data storage and human interpretation. A quipu is built around a primary cord, usually horizontal, from which numerous pendant cords hang downward. These pendant cords may themselves branch into subsidiary cords, creating multiple levels of hierarchy. Some quipus contain dozens of cords, while others contain hundreds. The cords were made from cotton in coastal regions or from camelid fibers such as alpaca or llama wool in highland areas. These fibers were carefully spun and dyed using natural pigments, producing a wide range of colors. The direction of the spin, the thickness of the cord, and even the method of attachment to the primary cord carried meaning. Knots were tied into the cords with great precision. Their position along the cord, their type, and their orientation were all deliberate choices. Nothing about a quipu was decorative or accidental. The entire object functioned as a structured data framework rather than a linear record. One of the clearest aspects of quipu interpretation is their numerical system. The Inca used a base 10 structure, and this logic is embedded directly into the vertical layout of knots along each cord. Knots near the bottom represented units. Those above represented tens, hundreds, and thousands. Different knot types served specific numerical purposes. Single knots, long knots with multiple turns, and figure 8 knots each encoded distinct values. Importantly, the absence of a knot represented 0, showing that the Inca understood and operationalized 0 long before it became widespread in Europe. This system allowed quipus to record very large numbers efficiently and accurately. Census totals, tribute payments, agricultural yields, and inventory counts could all be encoded within a compact physical form. However, numerical values were only one layer of information. What distinguishes quipus from simple counting tools is their ability to categorize information. Colors were used systematically, not decoratively. Certain colors appear consistently associated with particular types of data, such as agricultural goods, labor obligations, or military resources. The cord's material added another layer of meaning. Cotton and animal fiber cords may have indicated regional origin, administrative category, or the type of resource being recorded. Thickness, twist direction, and knot orientation, further refining interpretation. Spacing between knots often separates discrete data sets, functioning in a way similar to punctuation or data fields. The hierarchical branching of chords enabled related categories to be grouped into a single quipu. Taken together, these features suggest that quipus stored structured, multidimensional data rather than simple tallies. Archaeologists have found quipus in Inca storage centers where food, textiles, and tools were kept, and many of these chords match the quantities of goods stored there. Some quipus were discovered right next to maize, beans, and cloth, showing they were used as working inventory records, not symbolic objects. Spanish officials later tested these records by comparing quipus with their own written counts and found the numbers often matched. In the early years after the conquest, colonial administrators depended on trained quipu readers to explain tribute payments, labor duties, and stored supplies. When disputes arose, these specialists were called in because their records were considered official. This makes it clear that quipus were trusted tools for running the empire, used in daily administration just like modern ledgers or databases. Quipus were never meant to function independently. Their interpretation depended on trained specialists known as quipu kamayuk. These individuals were educated within specific administrative contexts and often inherited their roles through family lines. A quipu kamayuk did not simply read knots, they understood how physical patterns connected to oral explanations, regional practices, and institutional rules. The quipu stored structured data, but meaning was completed through trained memory. This human-machine partnership made the system both powerful and vulnerable. As long as training continued, information remained accessible. When that training was disrupted, much of the meaning vanished. One of the most debated questions surrounding quipus is whether they recorded narrative or symbolic information beyond numbers. A significant portion of surviving quipus do not conform neatly to numerical interpretation. Their structures, color sequences, and knot patterns resist straightforward decoding. Colonial accounts describe quipus being used to record histories, genealogies, legal decisions, and even messages sent between officials. Some scholars argue that combinations of physical features function like signs or syllables. However, without a bilingual reference point, these interpretations remain difficult to confirm. Unlike written scripts, quipus lost their living interpretive tradition almost entirely within a few generations of conquest. The Spanish conquest caused catastrophic disruption to the quipu system. Many quipus were destroyed, either intentionally or through neglect. Training of quipu kamayuk was suppressed and oral traditions were broken. Modern researchers work with fragments of a once complete system. While numerical functions can often be identified, higher-level meanings depend on missing context. Identical physical patterns may have carried different meanings in different regions. Statistical analysis and digital modeling have revealed recurring structures that suggest non-numerical encoding, but full decoding remains out of reach. Some modern scholars view quipus as an early form of data technology. Many of their features rely on binary distinctions: knot versus no knot, left versus right orientation, cotton versus wool, and one color versus another. These basic contrasts function as simple informational units that can be combined in structured ways. When layered together, these choices create complex systems capable of storing categorized and hierarchical information. While quipus were not computers, they demonstrate that abstract data storage does not require writing or symbols. Instead, they represent an alternative technological path for managing information, one that developed independently and was later forgotten by history. Quipus challenge long-held assumptions about intelligence, literacy, and civilization. They show that writing is not the only foundation for complex administration, and that societies can develop sophisticated information systems using entirely different principles. They also reveal how fragile knowledge can be. When a system depends on both physical artifacts and trained interpreters, the loss of either can erase meaning completely. Do you think quipus were only used for numbers, or could they have stored stories, laws, and history in ways we still haven't figured out? Let us know what you think in the comments.